So genus has to do with closely related species. Okay. Now, how do we understand that is through this. Usually, when we represent this whole concept, we represent it as a triangle. Here we have species, and here we have genus. So obviously, species here this is a kingdom, right? I'm sorry, this is a kingdom, and here you have the species. So the ones that are closely related, there are so many species there, different species. The ones that are closely related, they will come here under genus. Now you will get more under the same one. Okay. So now once we understand that, basically we understand what is a genus. In fact, this is how we build up until kingdom. Aggregate of species, genus. Now you aggregate genus, you will get a family. Aggregate the family, an order. You aggregate the orders, you will get a class. Aggregate them, phylum. Aggregate them, you will get a kingdom, and then you will reach the highest level of classification. Okay, we'll get to know this step by step because there are some important sentences that has to do with some of them. Now we will stick to genus. Now in genus, I gave you examples in species itself, right? Solanum. There's one more actually, Melangina. Okay, Melangina. And now we have many more examples for this. And here this is for lion, this is for tiger. So this is a genus, no? We find genuses here. Now this Panthera is a genus. Now we have few more other different genus like Cephalus that has to do with cats. Then you also have Canis that has to do with dogs. Okay, so these specific are the examples of genus itself, not species. Please don't get confused with that. And now we understood the basics, right? Genus, species. The bigger one is the genus. Closely aggregated related species are called as genus, and fundamental ones which share fundamental features are called as species. Now let us talk about family. As I said before, the aggregate of this genus will give us a family, okay? But please remember, although the aggregate part is correct, there is a pattern that follows that the number of similarities between the organisms will reduce as we start to consider more and more wider circumstances, okay? And here the vegetative and reproductive features are very important, and this sentence is mentioned in the textbook, so please remember that. That is the vegetative and the reproductive features. So this vegetative and reproductive features are very important in recognizing this family, and based on these similarities we look at the organisms. Now let's just look at some examples. Here again we come here. Panthera and Felis, right? Now these two come under the same family. Okay, I'll just write it here. Panthera and Leo, they come under the same family called as Felidae. And here we have Solanum, right? Some other are there. Solanum, Petunia, Datura, and some more. They come under Solanaceae. Okay, Felidae, Solanaceae, and also this is different from the family that dogs come under. That is Canidae. Okay, Canidae. I've just said one example here, Canis. But Canidae is another family. Felidae and Canidae, different families. So that is the cat family, it's the dog family. And now this is the family under which we have Solanum, Solanum, Datura, and Petunia, and some more also. Okay, so now that is family. Now let us talk about order. In order, we have both these Felidae and Canidae. They come under one, and that is Carnivora. The order Carnivora. Okay, and then we also have one more example, Solanaceae, and another family called as Convolvulaceae. Convolvulaceae. They come under Polymonials. Okay, Polymonials, and this is based on the floral characters. Now we will see one more thing here under order. Again, the number of similar features do keep decreasing, and again it is an aggregate of family with fewer similar characteristics. Here under order we will get few examples like Carnivora and Polymonials. And now in the textbook they have mentioned this. Like we might get a question, right? Based on what is Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae aggregated together. When we say aggregates of family, aggregates of order, it's not like all the families are aggregated into the same order, right? Only some are aggregated. So based on what are they aggregated? So to make us understand that aggregation doesn't necessarily mean that we just club them together to go up to the next step. It means that it also means that there is some basis based on which we club them together. And in this case, it is floral characters. Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae are clubbed into the order Polemonius, and it is based on floral characters. And you have Felidae and Canidae here, Clades carnivora. And I think the term is self-explanatory. The fact that they are carnivorous. Okay, and of course there are many more families that come under carnivora. It's just we are taking simple examples here to understand how they are aggregated and go further. Now let us talk about class. And since most of the examples here continued up until ordered, I have retained them. Now let us clear up this part so that we can talk about newer examples here. Okay, when we come to class, it's a very simple definition again, that is, it is an aggregate of different orders. Now, the basic thing here is, again we're going to take few examples which have not been mentioned here. They have been mentioned but not specifically. Here it's going to be Primata and Carnivora, which we mentioned. Now both of these are orders, okay? Both of these are orders. True, yes. But now they come under a class. Now this class is called as Mammalia. Okay. Now let's just understand like basic. What does carnivora include? Tiger, cats, dogs. Okay. Now what does primata include? This is specifically mentioned here. Monkey, gibbon, and gorilla. Okay. So now those are the examples for primata. And for carnivora, we have taken the simple examples of tiger, cat and dog. And now all of them clubbed together come under this class called Mammalia. And of course, as I mentioned before, they are not the only orders that are coming under this. There are many more orders, but it's just not mentioned here. Okay. Now let us start with phylum. Phylum is actually here for this category. We also have the term called as division. But division is for plants and phylum is for animals, okay? And this plants and animals, these terms, they come under kingdom. That is the next and the final level, okay? So now let us see for phylum. Here I'll just take random examples again. Okay, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals. Mammals we studied here, right? It's a class. Similarly, they are also classes. Birds and mammals, they all come under one phylum. Okay, that is the phylum Chordata. That is Chordata. Now, on what basis is it called as Chordata? Please remember these two examples. Remember the two phrases that I will mention now. They're very important. The first term is that they have the dorsal neural system, which is hollow. Dorsal hollow neural system, and also they have a notochord. Okay, notochord, not a vertebra, a notochord. Okay, please remember this term. And dorsal hollow neural system. We do have that, right? Dorsal as in the back side, hollow something that is not solid. Like see, if I hold these markers together and if I hold them with space between, there's a small space created in between. Now that is a hollow, right? So something that's at the back, something that is hollow, and the neural system. And then we have the notochord. It's based on notochord and not vertebra. Please don't confuse these two terms. And once we're done with, and one more, the plants. For plants, again, a few similar characters are used, but in this case, we call it as division. Here, let me write here division. But this is for plants. This is for plants. This is for animals. Now we have reached the tip of the iceberg, but it's actually at the bottom of the pyramid. That is kingdom. Now, when we go ahead, this chordata and with many other phylums, it will come under kingdom, as in the kingdom Animalia. Okay, kingdom Animalia. And now all these division of plants, it will come under Plantae. And now we have 3 more kingdoms. Because there are only 5 kingdoms, everything has been aggregated so beautifully and so systematically and theoretically, so as to be able to give us 5 kingdoms at the end. Now, the 5 kingdoms, I'll just mention them. We have Monera, then we have Protista, then we have fungi, then again plantae and animalia. So that covers the kingdom. So now I'll just give a really brief summarization of all this. First we have species. Species is the basic unit of classification and it has to do with the fundamental similarities between the organisms or the creatures. Now we come to the genus. Genus has to do with the aggregate of species and it is based on the closely related species and that's how we characterize them. Then we come to family. Family is based on the aggregates of genus and it has lesser similarities. And then we how is it done? Based on the vegetative and reproductive features. Now we have an order. Order is again the aggregate of families. Now based on that we have many other families. And how are they done? For polynomials, what had we written? Floral characters. Please remember that. Next we go to class. Class again is an aggregate of orders. And now that has to do with many other examples. Again, aggregate class will get a phylum or a division. Aggregate then you will get the kingdom. And division is for plants and phylum is for animal. Now, just examples. Mangifera indica. Mangifera is genus, indica is a species. Now, another example. Solanum tuberosum. Tuberosum is species, Solanum is genus. Now, Solanum tuberosum is not the only one. We have Solanum nigrum, Solanum melangina. So, what does that mean? There are many of them coming under the same genus. Now, Solanum petunia, datura, they all come under Solanaceae. Now, that is another family. Now, there is one more family, Convolvulaceae. So, Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae, they will come under the same one, that is polynomials. It is based on floral characters. Now, we got that example. Some more examples, if we see, like, since I mentioned it in terms of animals here, again we'll come back here. Panthera leo. Panthera leo is not the only example, Panthera tigris also. So, Panthera is a genus, Leo, tigris, they are all species. Then we have another genus, Felis. So, Panthera and Felis, they come under the same family called as Felidae. Felidae and Canidae are different families, but they come under the same order. They are called as Carnivora. Now, Carnivora and Primata are different orders, but they come under the same class called as Mammalia. Now, Mammalia with so many different other classes will form Chordata, and Chordata with many other phylum will form Animalia. And similarly, with other examples we go on building, we'll get this. Now, when I started with Mangifera indica here or Solanum tuberosum also, and when we went ahead, we didn't have examples here which are given in the textbook. But if we do continue it, we'll again arrive here at plantae, from division to plantae, because they all come under the kingdom plantae, right? So now these points are understood. Now I kept telling in between that it's an aggregate, and that's how we connected them, right? The continuous flow, we connected them. But did you notice something, that maybe the number of organisms here are extremely high? Number of organisms here, as in organisms here under this one category, taxon, this is also a taxon, is extremely high. But here it can be extremely low, right? Tigers, they're just tigers. So, but there's something else that is high here but low here. That is the level of commonness, the common features between them. Here, the common features is high, very high, extremely high. But here, the common features are extremely low. They're extremely low here, because if we come somewhere right in between here, we will see here that Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae have different features. That's why they were different families in the first place. But I said polynomials, they came under the same. Why? Not because they were same in every aspect, because they were same only in terms of floral characters. This very example allows us to understand that the level of common features decreases as we go from lower to higher levels. And what decreases here? The common features. This is very important because when we keep on grouping the different creatures and different organisms, we must keep in mind not everything is so same that we have that we can keep on grouping them, right? Otherwise, it would stop. The system of classification would stop at species if we were to be so specific about this character belongs only to this and we are not going to group it with this just because they have some similar characters, right? What I mean is that just because two organisms, different species, they have some similar characters, but that does not mean I'm going to group them. If I had such a thinking, if the scientist who did this had such a thinking, then it would stop at species. We wouldn't have such a simplified understanding. Where when we look at any animal, imagine if you had to think about, if you had to memorize every species when you look at an animal. But no, now we have understood it so well that when we look at an animal, we say it is an animal. When we look at a plant, we say plant. Yes, we might be aware of the species, but not necessarily all the time, right? This allows us to understand the beauty around us. And one word that I mentioned in the beginning, that is biodiversity. This term has been successfully been given justice to by such a beautiful system of classification and such a systematic level of understanding. So now I hope you can understand why taxonomy as a branch of science, as a branch of biology, is a very important yet basic to us, our level of understanding the organisms around us. So I hope you like this class and I hope you were able to understand the topics that I've mentioned here. So just the important points, taxon, the different level of classification, Ernst Mayr, Carolus Linnaeus, systematics, his book System and Naturae. Please just make your own little notes which is comfortable to you, which has all the important points that you need so that you can refer it anytime before your exams and so you can excel well in your exams. And also thank you for watching my video. Please do subscribe to this channel and please do give me your support. Thank you.